The Blood Betrayal. How Theranos' $9 billion lie unraveled. Imagine a world where a single drop of blood could unlock a universe of health data. A world where disease was detected earlier, treatment was personalized, and medical diagnostics were democratized. This wasn't a distant dream. It was the audacious promise of Theranos, a company that soared to a nearly $10 billion valuation, hailed as the future of healthcare. But beneath the polished facade, the charismatic founder, and the glowing headlines, lay a secret so profound, so dangerous, it would shatter trust, expose a culture of fear, and ultimately lead to one of the most spectacular corporate collapses in modern history. This is the story of the Blood Betrayal. This is the autopsy of Theranos' division, and the Our story begins with Elizabeth Holmes, a Stanford dropout with an unwavering gaze and a deep, resonant voice. At just 19, she envisioned a future free from the pain and inconvenience of traditional blood tests. Her idea, a device, the Edison, that could perform hundreds of diagnostic tests from a single, tiny finger prick of blood. It was revolutionary. It was disruptive. And it was exactly what the world wanted to believe. Holmes was a master of narrative. She spoke of democratizing healthcare, empowering individuals, and saving lives. She cultivated an image of a visionary, often compared to Steve Jobs, adopting his black turtleneck uniform. This potent combination of a compelling vision and the charismatic leader attracted an unprecedented constellation of power and influence. Former Secretaries of State George Shultz and Henry Kissinger, former Secretary of Defense James Mattis. These titans of industry and politics flocked to her board, lending Theranos an air of unimpeachable credibility. Investors poured in hundreds of millions, seduced by the promise of a technology that seemed too good to be true. The valuation skyrocketed, reaching $9 billion. Theranos wasn't just a startup, it was a phenomenon. The money machine and the secrecy. The money flowed like a river, but the technology remained shrouded in absolute secrecy. Inside Theranos, a culture of paranoia and control took root. Employees were compartmentalized, forbidden from discussing their work across departments. Non-disclosure agreements were ironclad, and surveillance was pervasive. The Edison device, the supposed marvel of engineering, was kept under lock and key, rarely demonstrated, and never truly scrutinized. Instead of showcasing groundbreaking science, Holmes and her second-in-command, Ramesh Sunnybalwani, focused on marketing and fundraising. They secured lucrative partnerships with Walgreens and Safeway, promising to roll out Theranos wellness centers across the country. The narrative was so powerful, so intoxicating, that critical questions about the underlying science were either dismissed or simply never asked. The board, comprised mostly of political figures with little scientific background, seemed more interested in the company's prestige than its proof. This unchecked ambition, fueled by billions, created a dangerous vacuum where scientific rigor was replaced by sheer force of will. 4. The red flags and the whistleblowers. But even the most meticulously constructed illusions eventually crack. Inside Theranos, a growing number of scientists and employees knew the truth. The Edison didn't work. The vast majority of tests were being run on modified commercial analyzers, not Theranos' proprietary technology. The results were often inaccurate, sometimes dangerously so, putting patients' lives at risk. Among those who couldn't stay silent were Tyler Schultz, grandson of board member George Shultz, and Erica Cheung. They witnessed firsthand the scientific malpractice, the intimidation tactics, and the blatant deception. They tried to raise concerns internally, only to be met with threats and dismissal. Their courage, however, would prove pivotal. They became whistleblowers, reaching out to investigative journalist John Carreyrou of the Wall Street Journal. Carreyrou, a seasoned reporter, began to pull at the threads of Theranos' carefully woven narrative, the exposure and the downfall. On October 16, 2015, Carrero's bombshell article hit. Apprised startup struggles, it declared, detailing the company's technological failures and its reliance on traditional machines. The article sent shockwaves through Silicon Valley and the healthcare industry. Holmes vehemently denied the allegations, launching a fierce counter-offensive, threatening lawsuits, and attempting to discredit Carrero and his sources. But the truth, once exposed, could not be contained. Regulatory bodies, including the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services (CMS), launched investigations. They found egregious violations in Theranos' lab practices, deeming them an immediate jeopardy to patient health and safety. Walgreens severed its partnership. Safeway pulled out. The carefully constructed house of cards began to tumble. The $9 billion valuation evaporated. Theranos, once the darling of Silicon Valley, was now a symbol of corporate hubris and scientific fraud. The legal battles and the aftermath. The fall of Theranos wasn't just financial, it was legal. In 2018, Elizabeth Holmes and Sonny Balwani were indicted on multiple counts of wire fraud and conspiracy to commit wire fraud. The trials that followed laid bare the full extent of the deception, revealing a company built on lies, fear, and a desperate attempt to conceal its failures. Holmes was ultimately convicted on 4 counts of defrauding investors and sentenced to over 11 years in prison. Balwani received a nearly 13-year sentence. Theranos, once a beacon of innovation, officially ceased operations in 2018. Its assets were liquidated, its promise unfulfilled, and its legacy forever tarnished. The story of Theranos serves as a stark reminder that even the most compelling narratives cannot survive without a foundation of truth and integrity. Conclusion and lessons learned. The collapse of Theranos offers invaluable lessons for anyone navigating the complex world of business, investment, and innovation. The danger of unchecked ambition. Holmes's relentless pursuit of her vision, without the necessary scientific validation, led to catastrophic consequences. Ambition must be tempered by ethics and scientific rigor. The importance of due diligence. Investors and board members, regardless of their stature, must conduct thorough due diligence, especially when the technology is opaque. Trust, but verify. The power of whistleblowers. The courage of individuals like Tyler Schultz and Erica Chion was instrumental in exposing the truth, highlighting the vital role of internal dissent in maintaining corporate integrity. The media's role. John Carrero's investigative journalism proved that even the most powerful narratives can be challenged and dismantled by persistent, fact-based reporting. Science over storytelling. In critical fields like healthcare, groundbreaking claims must be backed by verifiable scientific evidence, not just charismatic storytelling. Theranos was a fallen empire built on a lie, a cautionary tale etched into the annals of corporate history. It reminds us that true innovation is built on integrity, transparency, and a genuine commitment to the truth, not just the promise of a revolution. What other corporate giants or promising startups do you think are destined to become fallen empires? Let us know in the comments below. If you found this autopsy insightful, hit that like button, share it with a friend, and don't forget to subscribe to Fallen Empires for more deep dives into the dramatic collapses that shape our world.